Are you ready? I'm having second thoughts about this. So let me vent for the first like 30 seconds of this stream, and that is this morning since 7:30 a.m. I've had one of my episodes in which something triggers my asthma. It could be just dust or something in my room or just the environment in general. But I had a solid like full morning of just sneezing incessantly for like hours straight. And on occasion, I still get my moments when I start sneezing. So all I want in life is for this stream to go smoothly because I'm already regretting the fact that I didn't go unlisted for it just in case something goes wrong. But, anyways, we're gonna do this. So, today's topic is going to be something that I remember hearing a while back, and it had to do with people's decisions to have kids and how they handle it after the fact. And I remember watching a video where they went over this and they brought up some interesting points. So I'm just going to just express myself on this. Well, you guys know me, or if you've been watching me for a while, you have an idea of where I stand on this. But my instinct is to want to judge these people, like knowing my mom and how she raised us and treated us and everything, and how she definitely was designed to be a mom and she could handle being a mom. I'm like, how can anybody not want kids? How can anybody go as far as regretting having kids? And then I tell myself, you know what? In the same manner that not everyone is fit to be a mechanic, not everyone is fit to be a chef, not everyone is fit to just work customer service, and you name the type of career, it doesn't matter what it is. In the same manner that there's people who are not in shape or designed to work in a specific job of some sort, it's the same manner that someone can feel like not being a parent, or they can feel like they are not fit for it, or they're not interested in it, or the idea of it does not fill them up with the joy that is supposed to fill them with. Um, Part of it, I guess, has to do with the fact that as a living being, you're supposed to be designed to want to reproduce. Like, you find your mate, y'all exchange bacteria and DNA and whatever, and then more of you come about, you know? Given that physically you have what it takes, you're designed for that to happen, right? But we often forget that there is so much complexity to the human body, along with the human mind, along with the individuality of each person. And now that in modern days, we have so much communication going on, we can reach so many people, we can talk to so many people, we can get exposed to all kinds of ideas and information. It's like it's very easy for you to think outside of what you're used to. Like, if you live in one of those cultures where it's considered taboo to discuss stuff like intimacy and, say, a woman's period and everything, then of course you are less likely to get involved in activities that go against what that culture is used to, you know? But nowadays, I feel like when it comes to people being more independent and more free thinking, I feel like we are headed in the right direction when it comes to that. I personally do not feel like every time I sit here and talk to y'all, I have to hold back, or I have to be afraid about what I say. It's like, no, I can embrace myself for how I am. And those of you who are out there who agree with me, you'll be like, yay, you're saying it. I'm glad that you're saying it. Other folks will be like, I disagree with you. I cannot agree with you at all. And I'm like, great, that's fine. Disagreement is what makes the world go around, if you ask me. You know, imagine if everyone was on the same page about everything. I don't think humanity could progress. But anyways, I think it's crazy to expect for every single human being to be on the same page about everything. And this is no exception. Like, sometimes I think about it myself and I'm like, I want kids. But have I really sat down and thought about what it means to have kids? I want to say that I have thought about it deeply, but sometimes I end up declaring myself more as an undecided person, and it's because I know for a fact that my current capacity does not support me being a mother. Like, I don't feel like I'm prepared there, neither financially, mentally, nor emotionally. And in addition, I also feel like I do not have a, what can I say, stable enough relationship for that to happen. You know, there are many factors that get in the way for me to be making that happen. You know, it's like, um, in what position would the father be at? And I don't think that he himself would be ready for that. You know what I mean? So it's not only a decision that has to come from me as the woman, as the one who's gonna pop this baby out. It also has to be like a group effort between two people. But anyways, but to judge someone else for having a child and being like, you know what, this was the worst decision in my life, I don't think we have a right to do that as people who are not involved in that, like as third, from a third point of view, third person point of view. Because, like I said, you don't know this person. You don't know what overwhelms them. You don't know what they can handle and what they cannot handle. For me, I think the worst part of parenting is going to be dealing with a child's discipline. How do you present yourself as the authority figure without intimidating your child to where they do not feel like they can trust you? And this happens. And this is the part of parenting that I worry about the most because I have seen it in other people, like some classmates that I had, that they felt like they could not trust in their parents at all. And it's because their parents would constantly be like, don't do this, don't do that. You cannot go. You're not allowed to. You're not supposed to. I won't let you. You know, like, no, 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 no. And you have to obey that, but you're not really shown the way to live life healthily or correctly. And you learn to associate your parents with being the figure who, if you do something wrong, you're going to be in trouble. Like, you're not really allowed to be a kid who makes mistakes and then, okay, you make your mistakes and you learn from it, but you can pick up your life immediately afterwards. See what I mean? So I would definitely not be able to communicate with a parent, not even a parent, just any human in general, whom I feel intimidation toward. Like, I have been there where I have tried to have a conversation, no matter what it is, and the perception of that person, that reaction of that person, completely made me shut myself and just go into this shell of mine that to this day I'm still stuck in that shell that completely disables me of making decisions and just the way I interpret some aspects of the world around me are particularly challenging. And I know it's not healthy for me, but the change has to come from me. And it just takes me a little longer. But when it comes to being a parent, I feel like because we have so many movies out there, so many books out there, so many autobiographical works that you just can get your hands into, your mind gets controlled to being like, oh, if I become a parent, I have to absolutely demonstrate excitement and joy about this experience because that's what the expectation is. That's the image that we are shown more often than not. But most movies, most books or whatever, they never discuss the financial aspect of it, you know, the burden that this is. You can no longer have as much fun recklessly as you used to, because your money will not be the same anymore. Like you're watching after another human. It's not a cat, it's not a dog, it's another human. As time passes, the necessities of this creature are going to change and they will become more complicated. And you have to be able to tend to those changes. And that's one little thing that is really a big thing that people just do not consider before they get involved in this. Like having a child is completely, it's like a new form of business, all right? Like you need to have this all thought out and sorted through. In addition, you have to consider yourself physically. Your energy levels are not going to be the same. Your focus is not going to be the same. Your fatigue is definitely going to be extra. And some people out there are not designed to withstand that. Like for me personally, I'm only in my 20s and I'm already starting to feel tired from the job that I have. And my job is not really that difficult. It's just that work, along with the changes that happen at work, plus my home and the changes that take place in my home, and any other factors that also influence my life, like inflation, all that good stuff, that adds another level of stress that you cannot really foresee. And in reality, if you think about it critically, because all those factors never see an end, I know that I cannot wait for the ideal time to come for me to just decide, hey, I'm ready to be a mom. I feel like that moment will never come. But for sure, there is a more opportune time in life that you have to be looking out for. So I would not want to get preggo right now because I know that I realistically cannot afford to have a child. And that's okay. I'm not supposed to. Like, just because other people are getting married and they have the baby fever doesn't mean that I myself have to be involved in that stuff. Other people may get their resources sorted much faster than me. And I feel like it will take me a long time to get there. If I get there. And if I'm not there, at least I want to play it safe. And I would rather not bring a child to this world who's going to have to struggle just because the parents were not being responsible, you know? So, to anyone out there who feels like they are not filled with the joy that being a parent is supposed to be, I would encourage you to, whatever you do, do not be dishonest about it. Like, nobody wants to make their child feel unwanted or unloved. Nobody wants to be like, you know, my dear child, I love you, but dang, you know, I regret having you. I wish you were not here. It sounds messed up, doesn't it? But let's face it, the world is a dark place. It's a crazy place. There's people out there who do and say worse things. It's okay for you to feel that way because I feel like they're pushing this image of everyone has to be a great parent. Everyone has to be happy about being a parent. So if you want to avoid finding yourself in that situation, really, really, really take the time to introspect and be like, why am I having kids? Am I having them because I am ready? Am I having them because I am lonely? Am I having them because I really feel the instinct to do so? And in what position in life are you in to be taking on this task? Are you truly prepared for that or not? Because I feel like most people are guided by influences. Like everyone's having a baby and I'm approaching my 30s or I'm in my mid 30s, I need to have them too. No, like I just do not want for people to make decisions based on what's cool and what everyone else is doing. I think you have to have your own personal say on it. So, like I said, ideally for me, I would like to have them, but there are so many factors to consider that I want to make sure I have thought out. And, there's the financial aspect, the relationship aspect, my body aspect. Like physically, that stuff changes everybody. Like for me, it It may alter me completely, it may minimally change me, but it'll change you. And mentally, there are also some changes that will take place. So I just hope that people treat this very, with a lot of respect. And it's an urgent matter for you to consider prior to actually engaging in becoming a parent, because it is so easy for it to go wrong. And the worst part of it is that it's the children who end up paying the consequences. Those are the ones I'm worried about. The adults will have a way to figure it out, they'll have to figure it out. But I don't think the kids need to be suffering that. So, yeah, you guys, those are really my thoughts on the matter. Like, at first glance, my first impression. I think everyone has a right to feel how they feel. Some people are going to be more ready. Some people will forever be clueless as to how to be a parent. And that's okay. Not everyone is designed to handle that. So if you find yourself caught in a relationship where you are the one who wants kids and then the other person doesn't want kids, just how long can you stay with that person? I wouldn't like for you to brew some kind of resentment for the other person for being the way they are. When you're in a relationship, you're not supposed to be trying to change the other person into thinking like you, into wanting what you want. If you're together, I would hope that it's because you guys are just compatible. So this is something that you would need to be compatible with, and it's an urgent matter that should be discussed. And if there is a person in the relationship where they're not ready, but they want to be parents, and you want to be a parent and you're ready, then I guess you could talk to the partner who's like, to your partner who's not quite ready, and be like, where do you need help? Where do we need to grow? Or how can we get to where we need to get for us to have the confidence to be parents? Just talk this out. Like, talk this through. It's so important. Um, so, yeah, let me see what you guys are saying in the comments. I think I've rambled enough. You guys know my point now. Hey, Zams. Hello, John. So true. I never wanted the responsibility of having kids. To tell you the truth, for me, I tend to hype myself to want to have kids because for the longest time I said I am never having kids. I'm just not. But at the time that I had that opinion, I had an erroneous perception of what relationships and men were. Like, honestly, I just never believed in a man. Like, I did not believe in what they can contribute to my personal life. Um, and really, I don't want to point fingers at anyone or just find a scapegoat or everything, but my father wasn't exactly the best example for me. So I assumed that the story that I the story of my past is what universally every family goes through. Because it did not help that when I was growing up, almost everyone I knew lived with their mother, and of course, because their parents divorced. So, what kind of image does that send out to me? But as I grew up and I became more mentally mature, I understood that just because you're living with your mother doesn't mean that she is right. You know, unfortunately, in the justice system, there is favoritism for the woman. Even if she's not in the best shape to take care of children, she ends up getting the custody for some reason. Nobody wants to fight the woman for some reason because women are associated with being defenseless or helpless or something. That's the vibe that I get. I don't want to say that I know all the facts and that this is the truth. This is how I feel based on what I have observed and the stories that I have heard. And I have to say, I disagree with that because there are some guys out there who make amazing fathers, and I feel like their children would be safer with them. So, but anyways, I'm just glad that I'm able to think significantly, critically compared to how I was in the past. I had a very mistaken perception. I'm going to admit it. Like, I really used to think that guys were the worst. Like, there was no way that I could be happy with one. But once I started thinking on my own and exposing myself to them and talking to them, making friends with them, dating them, my perception changed, period. The experiences that my mother had do not have to be my experiences. And it should be common sense, but like I said, you're so influenced by what you see on TV, what you hear on the news and everything, and the bias was for the woman. So very easily I was like, "Oh, guys are something that I have to take care from, like protect myself from." And I'm like, "There's nothing to protect yourself from. All that fear was on my head." So once I discovered that, my life just changed for the better. Let's see. I think there would be less people who regret having kids if there were mandatory parenting classes in schools at the very least that would give people an idea of whether they could handle it. Um, True to that. My mother used to say that did she have classes? I don't think she had classes, but she took some kind of course. I think it was during pregnancy that gave her the resources to prepare for the during pregnancy, post pregnancy, and the whole parenting cycle in general. It also helped her that she was a teacher already, so she knew how to find these resources. But most people just think about, oh, I have to survive 9 months with this creature inside of me. And then people do not think about what happens afterward. It's like, no, a baby does not take care by himself. It's not all about changing diapers and feed him and give him a bath. No, it's a whole business. Like, so much to consider. And I think people find that out a little too late once there's no turning back on the page. Let's see. Where did I leave? There are definitely people who should not have kids, and people who regret the decision fall under that category, in my opinion. No kid deserves that kind of a parent. Exactly, because psychologically, this kid is going to grow up feeling rejected, and when people feel rejected and get rejected, the repercussions are just too great. Just how many times do we not hear stories of people who commit stupidities and the first thing that they say is, I was lonely, I was bored, I just. Basically, people who lacked attention, people who were neglected. Neglect really messes up a human's brain, let me tell you. Although they say the love is instantaneous and unconditional, it's hard to imagine any regret being more powerful than that. Exactly. That goes back to what I was saying about this image that you have to be excited about your child being born and it's all flowers, dandelions, and rainbows. I'm like, no. If you have that child placed in your arms and you do not feel that bond since the time that you realized that this child was conceived, then it ain't going to come to you. I'm sorry. I mean, I think that if you handle the news of being pregnant or something, well, in my case, if I were to hear that I'm pregnant, I want to say that I'll be excited and thrilled, but at my current age and my current status, I would be terrified. Like, how do I even begin to handle that? I'm not ready. Period. So if you're a person who ends up expecting and you were not ready, yes, you should feel worried. You should feel regret because there's a lot of stress that's going to come your way. Before it gets better, it will get worse. That's what I'm saying. That's why this needs to be thought through. So, and if you are ready, if you have the resource and you are physically able and mentally have a child and you end up regretting it, I mean, So what? It's you were not ready to be a parent. You have all those feelings. That's great, but that doesn't automatically mean that you're an ideal parent and that you have to feel like you need to embark on that parenting journey, you know? No, there shouldn't be any pressure. Movies are awful teachers. They at least hide details and at most outright lie to you. If you need advice on these things, you should get it from people if you can. Absolutely. Because movies will always portray the happy ending, the fairy tale ending. And that's why, whatever video that was, I was talking about how ideally when you fall for someone, that's it. That's the love of your life. And nothing will change. But life takes many twists and turns. So it could be the wrong person still. So, same thing with parenting. You may think that this is the thing that is going to make you feel complete and fulfilled and everything, but no, no, no. I want kids, but I'm not going to have kids if I'm not able to provide for them. I want them to have a good life. Exactly. That's what a responsible person sounds like. And I'm right there with you, Eric. When they do, just laugh out loud. I never understand why people who have 5 kids but not a job. Oh, because we have this thing called aid from the government, and that's who's taking care of the kids, if we can call it taking care of the kids. Because, I feel like most parents end up sending the kids to school expecting that school takes care of the raising part. I'm like, no, you have to raise them, and your school can educate them, but the education that your child gets in school needs to be reinforced at home. That's the difference. That's the trick. My mother works at a learning center. So, those are the levels before your child actually goes to like school. Let it be public, or let's call it grade level schools. And she tells me stories of parents who take their child as soon as the school opens. So let's say 7 a.m. And the child is there until like 6 o'clock, which is when the learning center closes. What does that tell you? And sometimes parents on days off bring the child to the learning center just to be looked after, just to be taken care of. And the parents tell my mom that they're going to go out on a date or something, or just basically have fun time without the kids. What does that tell you? These parents look their children as nuisance. Like, it's all right if you need to have some alone time, some you time, whatever. Everyone deserves it. But that's what I'm saying. Once you have a child, your social life cannot be the same. Your bedtime will not be the same. And you have to understand that's what comes with the package. You cannot try to live the normal life that you were used to with every single liberty and freedom. You just cannot expect that. Realistically, it cannot happen. It will not happen. If you're a responsible parent, it will not happen. Let's see. Do women have a biological clock? I have a coworker who is experiencing that. Well, women are supposed to become less fertile as the years go by, but it's not necessarily. All right. The best way to put this is you are born with like a specific number of eggs, and each period you lose one. So, or you lose many actually. So, when you experience the menopause, that's when your period ends. So, it's basically signaling that you are no longer ovulating, which is the way of like sending the egg to be fertilized by the guy's information, the sperm. So when people say that they have a biological clock, they mean that they are approaching the age where becoming pregnant is more difficult. And even if they do end up getting pregnant, um, medically, there may be some risk factors. Like your chances of, say, obesity are going to be higher, blood pressure are going to be higher, your child being born with disability can be higher. So that's why they recommend that you take folic acid. And you will have high risk pregnancies more often than not. Um, from what I understand, your 20s are the best time to have kids on the physiological level, but on the social level and financially, usually you should have it all together in your 20s, unless you have, depending on your career, I guess, or your level of privilege, let's call it for what it is, too. Um, realistically, you want to have a child the younger you are because when you age, your DNA begins to change and thus it alters the kind of offspring that you can produce. I hope I'm explaining that right. It's been a while since I informed myself on this, but basically, um, most women by age 50, they're done ovulating, maybe 52, 53. And that's when pregnancy becomes less likely. And if you end up pregnant because you yourself are experiencing changes physically to where, as the body ages, there are changes that take place. That's why they say that there's a biological clock. It just gets more complicated. So I'm not saying that if your 20s come and go and you don't have a kid, you're screwed. But you do have to consider that there will be factors on a medical level that you'll need to consider, especially depending on your family history. So some people are fine having kids under 30s, but some people aren't. And yeah, those are some things to consider. I have never regretted having kids. I love my choosing the spouse I chose, but see, in a situation like that, you were to have a parent, you wanted a parent, but unfortunately, your partner was not the right one. That's fine. It's on. You're live. Hello there. Hey, Jimmy. I am blessed to have had good parents who did everything they could to do what was best for us, their children. I had a mother like that. Is anyone really ever ready to be a parent? I mentioned that earlier. I was like, if you wait for the circumstances in life to stack up to be ideal, for the average person, that ain't gonna happen. But it's not impossible. So for me personally, since I know that finances are something extremely important, I want to be financially ready for that. And because I know how much it sucks to grow up without a father, I want to be sure that if I am going to become a mother, that at least I have a good partner. And I hope that I'm also compatible for my partner. I don't want to make this just about me, because what if I'm the one who messes up in the relationship? It's possible. I'm not perfect. So if when the moment comes, if I end up expecting, I just hope that that guy is it, because the best I could do would be to ensure that my relationship with the parent, like the father, is still good, to where, okay, we cannot be in a relationship, we cannot be a couple, we cannot be a marriage, but we can get along well enough to take care of our kids. Because, hello, I did not make my kids by myself. So, therefore, it takes two people to really ensure that kids have, a good life. Some parents can do miracles and they can be single parents, like let's say the father dies or let's say the mother dies. Are the kids condemned to be miserable? Not necessarily, but I'm just saying, when you know that in my case, that your father is alive and he just doesn't give a fuck about you, that really messes you up, you know? So I don't want for my kids to experience that. Like, if for some reason I'm the one who's not good in the relationship, I don't want for my kids to associate me with being a monster. Like I will care for my kids, even if I don't succeed in a relationship with their father, and vice versa. I don't want for my kids to associate the father as being a piece of shit. No, you know? So, like I said, that's what worries me the most about becoming a parent. How do I handle the psychological aspect of raising a child? Because no two people are the same. The formula that worked to raise me is not going to be the same formula that's going to work to raise my kids. My kids may be easier to discipline, they may be tougher to discipline. So that's what I'm saying. I want to be sure that I can educate myself enough to be able to cope with situations as they arise and have the proper reaction. Because let me tell you, I think one of the worst things that people do when having kids is you do not have the patience. I feel like the modern person in general is not very patient. We're not patient in relationships. We're not patient when waiting for online orders. We're not patient with traffic. We're not patient with cooking, relationships. Like, I feel like most relationships, people are ready to have a foot out the door. That shit takes work. You cannot expect for something like you get in a relationship and within a month you're already getting married and everything is working out fine. No. If you want quality, you have to work on it and invest on it. So that's what I'm saying. Don't bring kids into the world until you have considered your status. They don't deserve for you to make just decisions on impulse and they have to suffer the consequences. Just control yourself. It's possible. If one is not complete and fulfilled already for themselves, then they are not going to find it from someone else. One can't love someone properly if they don't even know how to love themselves first. Exactly. I'm glad you say that because I feel like a lot of times we expect for other people to make our lives better. And I'm like, no, you need to be self sufficient first. You need to be all right with yourself first before you can get involved with other people or expect for your involvement with other people to yield positive results. So that's why sometimes I sit here and I roast myself and I'm like, I think I'm terrible as a girlfriend. I think I'm terrible at dating. I think I'm terrible at everything in my life, really, except my job. Because if I haven't lost it, then clearly I'm doing it right. But when I feel miserable, I'm like, why am I miserable? And I'm like, I feel like more social activity would do me well. Maybe trying a new adventure in a relationship would be better. Meeting someone new would be better. Having a new friend to like hang out with or play games with or something would be nice. But I don't like to endorse my happiness to another human. See what I mean? Because, like I said, humans are flawed, and that's all right. I know I'm flawed. So, when I say that someone makes me happy, it's because I know that their presence really enhances my life. And it's not because they are solving my life, they are fixing my life. There is a difference. There's a difference between you genuinely enjoy a person for who they are as opposed to enjoying them for what they bring to the table. Like, I cannot imagine me being in a relationship just because the guy has money. And therefore, that means I don't have to work as much and I just get a pass socially to be comfortable. Thinking about that just sickens me. Because that's why on occasion I sit here and I go, if a sister needs something, a sister buys it for herself. I don't need anyone to give me anything. So I'm never telling people, this is what I want for my birthday. This is what I want for Christmas. No, if I want it, I get it. Period. So that's why I don't like to be dependent on another human for happiness. But it is possible that you can find someone who reinforces you. That's fine. But to depend absolutely on this person for that, I think that's a little wrong. You need to be okay with your life before you consider getting involved with someone else. Um, let's see, where did I leave off? It's mostly single mothers. Single mothers are single, most downfall of our society. Why any man would get married today has to have mental issues. See, there are aspects of marriage that are cool, but at the same time, because I understand marriage is a business, I really do not feel like it's something that I need in my life to feel accomplished. See what I mean? I know that there are some legal benefits to some extent to being married, but at the same time, once I figure out that something is a business, I get completely turned off. Like, I was talking to someone a while back about how I do not like to attach emotional meaning to objects, and it's because it's a business. Like, if you have to go out and purchase something and be like, I'm going to let this object symbolize my spouse, I think it's kind of weird, because the moment you lose that object, you lose your shit. Why? It's replaceable. Like, some people, if they lose a ring or something, they're like, oh, this is the one that it's very special. My grandmother gave it to me. I get it. I'm not saying that I don't have emotions. It's just that I cannot imagine myself being mentally and physically crippled just because I lost an object. I have lost a lot of things in my life that I thought were important. And now looking back, I'm like, I don't even remember what I have lost to care. So, what was this object doing for me to make my life better? Nothing. Then, good thing that I lost it. It's one less thing to worry about. That's the way I look at it. But at the same time, while I say that, I don't want to sound like I'm ungrateful for, say, if someone gives me an object and they're like, I want you to remember me with this, I don't want to sound like I'm not going to give it respect and I don't appreciate the person for it. Of course I do. But it's just that I like to be down to earth. My life is not going to stop just because I break something or lose something, you know? Um, I love my car, for example. I feel like I love it more than some of the people in my life. But realistically, if it gets towed up, if I get in a wreck on it, I ain't tripping, you know? I'll get another one. Because no matter what, a car is a car. All I care about is its function. I just so happen to like the aesthetics and the model, design, whatever of that. I am spoiled. But realistically, I ain't tripping. As long as I'm alive, I am not tripping. I just ain't. So that's what I mean, guys. I don't want to make it sound like I don't appreciate people for giving me stuff. It's just that I like to keep it real. I like to keep it real. Let's see, where did I leave off? Look for red flags when you're together with your partner. Live with them for a couple of years and you will know. Exactly. There is this taboo associated with, oh, you shouldn't live with someone until you're married. And I'm like, mother effer. No, you have to live with someone so that you know what they're about. Because that's when they start showing their true colors, and you can, before it's too late, before you're committed legally, you can be like, on second thought, I don't think I can handle you. I don't think I can be with you for the rest of our lives. And that's okay. I feel like people have this obligation of making things right with the person they are with immediately. No, like, it may be 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and some people call it off. Why? Because you realize that you ain't meant to be together. It's better to break up than stay together, even though you know it's a mistake. See what I mean? So sometimes people stay in a relationship because, of course, it's easier than to live it. I've done it, but keep it real. Just consider the consequences for the future. Is it worth it? And if you're questioning it, it's probably because it's not worth it. So I would encourage everyone to be intimate, live with someone before you get married. Because if you don't feel satisfied, the satisfaction will not come after the matter. Just trust me. This is coming from a girl who has been there before in that situation. Facts. Yes, it's too easy to pump out kids. She's so funny. I love her. Yep. What sign are you? If you mean astrological, I'm a Leo. Zamri, have you been cheated on or a victim of the Me Too experience of sexual harassment? I that I'm aware, I have not been cheated on, even though they want me to believe that I was, and I'm like, what my eyes do not see, my heart does not feel. That's all I gotta say. I never saw anything, so I ain't feeling anything. But when it comes to the Me Too movement, I shared a story. It's a video titled My Worst Experience with Another Person or Another Human. That's the closest thing to me being harassed that I experienced. But to tell you the truth, and this will probably backfire on me. But if it does, you guys will be the first people to know. But I feel like a lot of people um, make those issues gravitate toward them. Like you instigate that stuff. Because if you act like a lady and you establish your boundaries and you do not insinuate anything, you will be okay. Because I personally cannot say that especially at my workplace, I have zero experience of, say, a male colleague trying to make me feel uncomfortable. None whatsoever. I guess the closest thing was there's always a guy in the group who's all flirty and everything, and they think they're the last soda in the desert, and you have to drink it up. But all you have to do is ignore them, let them know that you do not approve of that behavior, and they'll leave you alone because that's what happened. It's been years since this person tried to mess with me, you know? So if you make yourself be respected, you will be respected. Because the ladies who I have met who experience issues with guys, they're the very ones who are dating a new guy probably as often as they change their underwear. There is no way that I can trust a person like that. That says a lot of wrong things about you. So, like, for instance, for me, it takes me a long time to start really getting in the mindset of dating someone again. Like, I have to be incredibly frustrated for a long time for me to be able to contemplate diving into a new relationship. But when you are someone who you break up with someone today and then tomorrow you're with a new guy, that doesn't really display the best image of you. Um, so for the ladies who complain like that you're a victim of something, the trends make it look like, oh, sometimes you're trying to blame the victim. Well, disasters don't just happen, they are a chain of critical events. What did you do to avoid disaster from happening? I think you're responsible for that. So, if I were to become a victim of that, I'll share my story, I'll establish what happens. And I think that the only way that will happen to me is if I'm a victim of a random assault, a random harassment. Like somehow I'm out in public and someone just out of nowhere just forces me into things, they overpower me, and then I end up in that situation, you know? But it's just crazy. I have never been told things by guys or been abused like that, you know? So I would love to just blindly believe what I see on social media about other women's experiences, but I strongly believe that you are responsible for a grand deal of the things that happen to you. So if you would not like for a guy to mess with you, do not send mixed signals. Do not display interest unless you genuinely, truly, from the bottom of your heart, have interest. Because if you just want to be a female who's enticing and wanted and wants to feel dangerous and all that, stuff will happen to you. What can I say? Like, people, like some women say, I shouldn't have to worry about what I wear. Well, unfortunately, your clothes do send a message. If you want to sell, you have to show the merchandise. Are you showing the merchandise? If you're showing the merchandise, someone will want to buy it. Hopefully you guys can interpret what I mean by that. That's that's the best way I can put it. um yes, but make sure your state doesn't have common law marriage, whatever that is. The last Dr. Pepper. Hi Zamri, I love kids. She is so brilliant. Well, guys, I believe that I have rambled enough. I cannot think of anything else that I want to add on this matter. What do you guys think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know your thoughts. And as always, take it easy, be careful. Do not feel the pressure of society. Do not allow yourself to be stressed out. Do not allow yourself to be like um, brainwashed by everything that you see. There is a lot of mind control going on out there. And I think that you all need to be able to think independently and make decisions for yourself. Whatever you're working on, whatever you're doing, if you're in school, if you're trying to advance in your career, if you're trying to be your own like boss, start a business or something, do what you can always. Do not take on loads that you cannot bear. Don't live stressed out. Don't let anxiety get to you. Don't let depression get to you. I was depressed, miserable, all that you can think of for a long time. And I cannot imagine myself going back to that. So where you guys might see me, I may look like a failure because I decided to not go to college. I decided to not pursue a career that fills my pockets up. But at least I eat. At least my bills get paid. I have somewhere to stay. I have friends. I feel great. I feel happy. I feel like I'm headed in the right direction. So if something happens to where I need, say, more money to get somewhere, then I may consider going to school or maybe getting another job or just trying to go up in the ladder, whatever situation. But until then, I am going at my pace. And whatever I obtain, whatever experiences I can obtain, whatever I can spoil myself with, it will be through the fruit of my labor and patience. And it is so much more satisfying and fulfilling that way because that helps me not take anything or anyone for granted. There is a lot of things that I would like to have immediately, but sometimes you need a challenge, like something that tries you in order for you to really appreciate what you're doing. And if it's a person, for instance, that you really appreciate, it helps you not take them for granted. Speaking from personal experience. All right, let me see what you guys said during my conclusion, and then after that, I'll have to bail on you. Be a leader, never a follower. Illuminati talking about shortcuts, worrying, never the end. Yeah, guys, seriously, everything will be okay. Do not worry about a damn thing in life. As long as you're alive, everything has a solution. Yes, you're right, Zamri. People need to take life easy. Money is not everything. That is a great way to live. I am that way. Zamri, I'm very blessed. I met you. Yay. It's good to meet you too. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. And if you catch the stream later, let me know in the comments what you think, and I'll see you soon.